Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So this is going to be my attempt at a third video. So the first video I did was on choosing yarn. The second video I did was on the chain and then single crocheting. And today I think I'm gonna attempt to go over a half double crochet. What I did, and I'm hoping that this could help those who actually learn better from illustration as opposed to maybe seeing it on video. But I went ahead and put together some illustrations for you guys, and it's going to cover some of the basic things I've already taught you. And one of them, so this one here is a slip knot. You've got your chain stitch illustration, and then you have your single crochet, which is what the first video covered. And then today's video, the second page is going to cover the half double crochet here. And then hopefully next week I can do another video showing the double crochet. Now these are your basic stitches pretty much for the most part that you'll be using for most projects. Most projects use these basic chains and stitches. On the occasion, something's a little different, which we'll go over some of the differences and how to actually, finish that off in some future videos. But for the third video, I thought I'd just cover and go over the half double crochet. I hope that you guys are joining and following along. I had someone tell me today, I watched your video, but I really still don't think that I can do this. But the only way to do it is, pick up your hook and pick up your yarn and just give it a try. So I hope that you guys fall in love with crocheting as much as I did. I literally, from the first time that I tried it, I just fell in love with it. So hoping you guys will give it a stab. But we're gonna go over today the half double crochet. All right, let's get that started. Okay, so just like before, we're gonna start with a simple slip knot. And a chain. So remember, in the second video I did, I covered slip knot, your chain. Let me see, I'm trying to find the camera here. And your single crochet. But now we're going to slip knot, we're going to chain. So that we can work on that half double crochet. Okay, so just going to try to make a little length, get a little length here. So remember on the single crochet, I said you're going to skip, because the one on your hook doesn't count, right? So I said we were going to skip the one right after, because that's actually where you're seeing that single crochet on the hook is coming from. So we're going to skip that, and we would go into the next one to start your single crochet. So what we're going to do this time, we are going to skip 2 and then go into the next stitch. So the one on the chain doesn't count. We're going to skip this one. Then we're going to skip, so we're going to skip the first one. Then we're going to skip the second one. And we're going to go into the third. After wrapping your hook, we're going to go into the third chain. We're going to pull the yarn through. So now you've got 3 chains on that hook. And we're going to go right through all 3 of those. Okay. So we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook. Now remember, I said you're not going to go into this really stretched one because that's the one that's being used. You're going to go into the one right after that. You're going to find the next chain and go into that one. You're going to pull the yarn through, which gives you 3 on your hook, and you're going to pull the yarn through all 3 once again. Wrap the yarn around the hook, go into the next one. Oops. Pull through, and you want those 3 chains on the hook. You're going to wrap the yarn once again and pull through all 3. You're going to wrap the yarn around the hook. We're going to go into the next opening once again, the next chain. You're going to tug your yarn through and go through all 3. And that is, let's see here. And that's what it should look like. So let's continue on. We're going to wrap the yarn around that hook, go into the next chain. We're going to pull the yarn through till you have 3 loops on the hook, and you're going to pull through with that yarn through all 3. We're going to continue that till we get all the way to the end. So we're going to, and if you have to stop this video and pause it, I did a lot of pausing as I learned to do projects, and as I learned to crochet, I learned to pause a lot. So, and you want to hold the yarn taut enough, because what happens is, and it just happened to me a second ago, your yarn will split if you're not careful. So we're going to go through all 3. And remember, what's great about YouTube is you can actually slow this video down. You can enlarge the video if I don't have a close-up on it, close-up enough for you to see the stitches. You can actually enlarge where you pause on a video in YouTube. That literally was my lifesaver, because I would pause and enlarge to see where her hands were or what was happening. We're pulling through all 3. So you have your hook is through 1 chain already. You're going to wrap the yarn, which becomes your second, and then when you pull the yarn through your hole, that's going to give you 3 chains on that hook, and you're going to go through all 3. What's nice about the half double crochet and the double crochet when you're first learning to do a project, if you're doing a scarf or a blanket or a pot holder, it helps your project go along quicker because your stitches are higher, as opposed to your single crochet where your stitches are low. This is actually one of my favorite stitches. I just like. Okay, so remember what I said. Try not to forget and you know, to make sure that you get that last chain in. What happens is if you overlook it or you don't see it, so stretch, you know, usually what I like to do is I'll stretch and really look to see what's there at the end there. Because if you miss it, you know, your project's going to end up crooked and wonky. So you want to make sure that all the chains that you started with, you actually fill. So now that I'm stretching it, I'm seeing that was my last chain. So at the very end here for a half double crochet, I'm going to chain 2 instead of 1. We're going to chain 2 up, and then we're going to turn our work. And then again, stretch so that you can see where that first chain is. So it's right here because this is your 2 chain up. This is your next stitch. So you're going to go into that. Remember I said in the last video, if you watch that one first, it's going to create 2 loops, a front loop and a back loop. So you want to make sure to go through both those loops. And this is really important because another technique that I'll teach in a future video is working off of one or the other of those loops. So you want to learn to recognize those loops. So you're going to go through both of those loops, pull the yarn through. Keep going off camera. I keep forgetting where the camera is. And then you're going to pull through. All right, so you're going to wrap. You're going to go through the next. You're going to make sure you go through both those loops. 1, 2. You're going to pull your yarn through and then through all 3. And you can see already that this is taller than the single crochet. It actually leaves a really pretty pattern. It's coming along. It definitely whips up the project way quicker than a single crochet. All right, so we're almost to the end so that I can show you how to turn your work again. So I'm going a little faster here. Okay, so now we're on the very end here, and sometimes this one's a little hard to read, but if you tug a little bit on it, you can see that this is where you went up 2 and then into that first stitch. So you want to make sure to go into that last one and then turn. And then we're going to go 2 up. We're going to chain twice and then turn our work and go into that first one and then go through all 3. If you're following along with the tutorials, I'd love for you to send me images of what you're working on. If you have any questions, let me know what's difficult for you, what's easy for you, what you want me to talk about or show, showcase. All right, let's see here. So we're going to wrap the yarn around the hook. We're going to go into the open chain, but we're going to go into both. I'm just going to push through both of those. Grab yarn, pull through that opening. So now you have 3 chains on the hook. You're going to wrap the yarn and pull through all 3 of those. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to download a link so that you can print the PDF if you wanted to. Let's see here. There we go. This is for the half, the illustration for the half double crochet. And that gives you the step-by-step. But make sure to look in the comments and you'll be able to print those PDFs off if you wanted to have those. And there's 2 pages because the first page covers the slip knot, the chain stitch, the single crochet, and then the second page is going to go over the half double crochet and next week's tutorial on the double crochet. All right, let me go over that one more time before ending here. You're going to wrap the yarn around the hook. You're going to push your hook through, grab the yarn and pull it back through that opening, wrap the yarn around the hook, and then you're going to pull through all 3. And that is what you call your half double crochet. Now, remember, this is US terminology. Other countries do refer to these stitches in different ways. So just keep that in mind as you're learning to do projects. If they're not from the US, they will refer to this half double crochet as a double crochet. And there's a few other different terms out there for them, but in the US here, we just refer to this as a half double crochet. Wrap around. We're going to go through both. We're going to tug that yarn back through. Wrap more yarn around the hook to be able to go through all 3 and close off that chain. And that's what a half double crochet here in the US is. But you'll have your pot holder or your scarf done in no time with a half double crochet. I hope you guys like this stitch as much as I like this stitch.